Welcome back to Nuclear News, where we're covering another epic week of nuclear news. First up, price action. The Sprott Uranium Miners ETF was up 1.27%. The broader stock market up 0.11%, the S&P 500. And so still correlated to broader moves in the macro environment. Now, ultimately, the highest quality assets diverge from the lower quality assets over the long run. But in the short term, you see some correlation, which is why short-term price action really is not as important as long-term fundamentals. And so if we take a step back and look at the 5-year price action of uranium, you can see it outperforming the other large commodities. 5-year commodity returns, uranium comes from Katuza Research, uranium up 102%, gold up 41%, oil 29%, and copper 17%. So the scarcest above ground assets outperforming the rest. Here's a chart from Atrium Research, which Willem Middelkoop shared, showing the supply-demand dynamic of uranium over the next few years. So everyone's worried that potentially we could get flooded with uranium supply. Well, this projection shows that we are in a supply deficit, and we're projected to be in a supply deficit until 2026, because black is demand, white is secondary supply of uranium, and purple is primary supply. So demand will be higher than supply for the next few years. So this is pretty massive, obviously the bull case for uranium overall. And so let's stay on top of the news that has come out, which is just exacerbating this supply crunch, making the above ground supply even scarcer, which is causing even more upside pressure on the spot price. The federal 2023 omnibus spending package, which the government just passed, allocates more than $46 billion to the Department of Energy, including $300 million to secure U.S. nuclear fuel supplies and $1.7 billion in support for HALEU, advanced reactor fuel development. So we're just starting to see the wall of money just pour into this space, specifically North American producers. Boom! Encore Energy awarded $7 million from the Department of Energy to provide 100,000 pounds of uranium at $70.5 per pound. Has anyone seen the spot price recently? It is around $50. The US government, this is typical when governments get involved. They overpay generally. And so you can just see them pouring money into the space. They can't get it for less than $71 per pound. This speaks to how scarce it is above ground. And it also speaks to how much cash these North American producers are going to be making. Your Energy will realize $6.5 million in revenue from supplying 100,000 pounds to the Department of Energy's new U.S. Strategic Uranium Reserve at $64 per pound, a 35% premium to today's $48 per pound. Does it get bigger than this if you're an investor in these North American miners, right? The US government is paying what it deems fair value for uranium spot price. This is the realistic liquid floor price of spot uranium. Uranium Energy Corps wins award from the U.S. Department of Energy to supply 300,000 pounds at $59.5 per pound to the Strategic Uranium Reserve. So well above spot price. This is the realistic price the US government is willing to pay, right? So this is why we say the price has to go up to incentivize above ground production, because these miners will not acquire it for any less. So it's just absolutely huge if you just zoom out. And so why is all this happening? Because the US is desperate for a domestic supply of uranium. And the US government does not want to be reliant on Russia. Russian exports to the US have essentially been reduced to nuclear fuel, which we're desperate to them for, fertilizer, and platinum group metals. Imports of enriched uranium from Russia to the United States in October amounted to $185 million, the highest since November 2016. So clearly uranium is in demand and the US government needs it, and they're paying for it. The Biden-Harris administration announced $750 million to accelerate clean hydrogen technologies, Clean hydrogen, which is produced with zero or next to zero emissions from renewables, nuclear energy, or natural gas with carbon sequestration, is set to play a vital future role in reducing emissions from some of the hardest to decarbonize sectors of our economy, including industrial and chemical processes and heavy-duty transportation. So investments in clean hydrogen lead back to nuclear fuel because it is the best, most efficient way of generating clean hydrogen. Just another revolutionary use case of uranium. And yes, the US government is investing in it. More nuclear powers is what both parties want. So we know how divided the country is, but this is one thing that everyone can agree on because it makes so much common sense. And so we've covered the unfolding renaissance happening in the US in the nuclear fuel industry. Let's go around the world. Turkey in talks with US to buy American nuclear reactors. There is room to purchase as many as 35 small modular reactors known as SMRs. Small modular reactor technology that is proliferating nuclear power around the world at an exponential clip. Energy price hike prompts Italian nuclear rethink. Nuclear power splits the ruling coalition as the issue gains prominence thanks to surging electricity prices. So just another country doing a U-turn, right? Every single country in the world is slowly but surely moving back to uranium, even though before they tried to get away, but it proved impossible to really get away from it. You can't. It's too revolutionary. Macron panicking as France faces catastrophic nuclear energy crisis. A record number of France's 56 nuclear reactors have gone offline, sparking serious concerns over energy security. French President Emmanuel Macron is said to be in a panic as the issues with France's aging nuclear reactors have laid bare the flaws in the country's energy plans. 16 out of France's 56 nuclear reactors are currently offline due to corrosion and maintenance issues, sending its normal power output levels plummeting. Prior to these problems, France's nuclear fleet generated 70% of the country's electricity. So the conclusion here is that due to chronic underinvestment in nuclear power, France is feeling the pain. And the solution is investment into nuclear. And that's what we're seeing. That's what they've been talking about in France. The nuclear renaissance is alive and well in Japan. Rule amendment to allow extended operation of Japanese reactors. Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority has approved a draft of a new rule that would allow the country's nuclear power reactors to be operated for more than the current limit of 60 years. The amendment will require parliamentary approval. Remember, uranium is scarce above ground. We're in a supply deficit. So the more extensions of these assets, these nuclear power generators, the more demand there is. And then we have this from Rolls-Royce, which is speaking to the technology that is catalyzing the nuclear renaissance. We spoke to Reuters about our new microreactor technology that can power space exploration. So nuclear power seems to be slated to power the future of space exploration, which many agree is the new frontier of technological innovation, what's going to go on in space. And so nuclear power will fuel space exploration. It will also fuel planet Earth, kind of a big deal. And we're staying on top of this market.